Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see you here. I have done another stream earlier talking about what we're going to be doing now. And everybody that caught that, I hope you've managed to make it here. Those people who are waiting, you haven't missed much. We're going to update you on the best possible place to enter price on LPSN. So if you're interested in getting involved in this stock, which has been on a meteoric rise, or you're a dollar cost averager and you're looking to get in cheap, or it is that you're managing your position because you're a swing trader and also very dangerous and easy to miss out on the rises on a volatile low market cap stock such as this, if that is your approach. So I'm Trade Spotting. You are the ladies and gentlemen of the chat box. I hope you can hear me properly and see me. Nino, today we witnessed that meteoric, remarkable, incredibly inspiring rise, a surge that the whole trading world is now taking notice of. LPSN is topping out leaderboards all across different exchanges and trading forums. People everywhere getting involved. Many of them resent the fact that we were all in at the lows. And well, it's great to welcome new members to the family. Plus, you can't choose your family, they're choosing you in this instance. So we shall forego their bitterness because they too shall be happy. Certainly by the end of today, we're price closing in at around 130. So absolutely fantastic news. We've seen this astonishing rise today. That's a huge double-digit percentage move just today alone, which is a significant milestone now, getting up to around 136 on LPSN. The cumulative gains from people in this community are quite staggering, and it can end up leading you into temptation to make the wrong decision, to buy a high, when likely you would have been better off just waiting a little bit or looking to capitalize earlier on in the day when you were excited but a little bit scared. These are the moments to stick to your conviction with your plan. So let's work on that plan together and get the best possible price for you to enter LPSN or to dollar cost average or to look at the sentiment around the chart right now based on the behavior in price, because it's price that drives price. It's technical analysis that derives support and resistance. They're the places you manage risk, and that's how you decipher the likely future price of this stock. It's not true to say that the real value of the company changes at the same rate of price. So it would be absurd to say that you can do this job properly without using technical analysis. So that's involved. It's a big part of it. And if it is that you're managing your position, then it'll be crucial information to you. So this moment is bringing me extreme amount of pride in this community, and I'm sure all of you a lot of happiness. But this journey as a trader or investor is not defined simply and exclusively by those moments of triumph. It's much more about how you direct your own behavior with a disciplined dedication to your plan. So price movements, that's out of your control. But how you interact with price, the strategy, the way you adapt when price itself changes, that's within your grasp. These are things that we can control as traders. So it's essential then to guard against complacency or getting too emotional and to manage your own expectations to give you a simple strategy which you can therefore deploy consistently. And that'll help you remain focused on the serious nature of trading, because you can celebrate later when you've got all the money and you've walked away from the table. So whether you identify as a trader or an investor, or you're one of those many people in the community that are diligently dollar cost averaging into this particular stock, each of us, no matter what type of trader we define ourselves as, must be aware of the unique plans that'll help us maximize our own approach that's tailored to our individual account and our personalities. So that's the way we're going to look at price shortly. For those currently actively trading LPSN and looking to buy more and more at different areas, I've got the answer for you. But regardless of your approach, vigilance is paramount. Swing trading, these deep value, high volatility stocks, it's like LPSN is moving like nothing else in the market. That requires great awareness and a strong strategic finesse. You'll need to work on your skills. We've got links below that'll help you do that. It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. This is a very important adage of many successful traders. And this wisdom holds true in this difficult stock to manage, right? If you're trying to get in at highs, in at lows, out at highs, and managing moves based exclusively on how you perceive price and your own previous experience of price in different stocks, then you're likely to get caught out, because this thing is something else. It's unique in the market right now, and it's making huge moves. And in times of uncertainty or doubt, you have to then remember that you're not alone, right? There's a lot of other people that feel this way. And our community is here to emphasize these principles and keep us all steadfast together on our own path and groups of one. So if guidance is what you seek, there are resources available to you. Rocky and I have made them. They're down in the links below. And let not forget the emoji calendar, which we can refer to for any timeline with regards to events anytime we need, and it'll make sure we stay informed and prepared. It's very clear. It's very simple. If you haven't figured it out yet, there's loads of people who have, right? So check in with them. And we're going to maximize our impact together by engaging actively with the charts and each other in these chat boxes. And we're going to remain ever aware of our serious plans. The only limit to the realization of tomorrow is our doubts about today. And that is what catches swing traders out when they're looking at LPSN. So you're going to banish those doubts. We're going to embrace these strategies, and we're going to move forward with confidence and conviction. Ups and downs of price are easy in retrospect, but it's new to many who are arriving in LPSN. So I believe that desire we all share to acclimatize ourselves to this dynamic environment. I believe this video will help. We're going to look to the charts, and we're going to seek consistency, and that'll give us the courage to continue, which is what counts in the end. So this courage, this resilience, that's our guiding light, along with prices. Janine, 5 memberships gifted. Thanks so much, Janine. If you get them, say thanks to Janine. Every success story, every gain, every moment of triumph, it began with a foundation. And for me and for you, as you follow through me, the foundation is Rocky Outcrop. He's the genesis of our journey here. He's the one that we thank for paving the way. He created this community for us together. His insights, his guidance, they're instrumental in all of our achievements here. So whether it be with LPSN or anything else, we continue to benefit from his endeavors that set this course for our future success. So follow Rocky Outcrop on YouTube, check him out on Twitter, and you'll find not just success with LPSN, but in everything you do in your trading journey. Follow Rocky Outcrop, and let's celebrate together this moment of gratitude and joy, but also commit ourselves with a renewed focus to our strategies and plans, which are derived from price action, which all of the success that comes from me flows from Rocky. And remember the wisdom who came before you, because those are the people who contribute and make this thing such a massive success. Here's the charts. Brad C, thanks for what you do, Jamie. You're welcome, Brad C. Great to see you. Now, as you can see, immediately as we open things up here, there is a potential harmonic, which suggests potential reversal and where you might look to get in. Price has been in a channel to the top side so far, and that's performing very well. You've got a strong bullish move that took you into this area on the RSI. It's a 4-hour time frame where you can see it got to overbought. And at that stage, you look left and see that there's an important area of horizontal resistance. And so it might be true that we've come so far that we're at the top side of this particular formation, that it may well be that sideways price action and a degree of accumulation or a pausing at this moment is understandable. We could anticipate that. Maybe worst case scenario, price action pulls back down, tests the bottom side of this formation, it doesn't hold, and you get a move that expresses the liquidity within it. And let's say that's from the first low to the first high, and I know the channel isn't strictly drawn there. If it is that breaks out when it moves right, and it takes a number of days, but by the end of the week you see it move down, the measured rule from within that formation does at least take you to these areas in at around 0.97 or slightly lower, potentially in at around 0.91, which is also target 1 from this particular harmonic. Now, if it doesn't hold those areas, the 4-hour time frame, you'd likely see a lot of information first on your momentum indicator. That's the RSI here and the MACD below it, where you've got the potential for the MACD line across the signal line, suggesting that price will come back down in search of support, and you'd have this diagonal trend line, which has had 2 touches so far. You could obviously take it slightly differently and see that it's had 3 touches. And that's a real trend line that if that was to break, you'd likely look for the RSI to push towards the center line. And in that instance, you might see an oscillation low in price. That could be back to that previous support at 7.8, could be in at around 8.2, 8.8 itself, or up at around 9.6 again, if it is that price holds strong levels of support, which is entirely possible, even in a bearish result, because there's so many new people looking to get into this stock. There's so much liquidity waiting on the sidelines, and there's huge interest. It's now making its way around all the different exchanges. It's topping out on those leaderboards, and people who've no idea what we're doing are yet about to discover LPSN and the huge potential it offers them as traders. So there's lots and lots of areas of support that we would be cognizant of. If none of them hold, you could be looking at it come back down and test this previous low, the C on this guy, and that might be where this thing ends up going if it is terrible news. But does it feel like terrible news to you? It definitely doesn't to me. And so I'd be looking at target 1 as likely the worst case scenario. Tests of this, then that support line on price possible in that bad case result, and then these areas as fake out zones if price loses that channel. Now, if price does fake out of that formation, doesn't go through the full measured rule, and then returns to within it, it'll likely move back to the top side, blast through 178, that's the bottom side of a gap, and come up and close that in at around 239. So if you're swing trading it, you've got a really low average, then it's on you to decide what suits your personality, your style, and your skill and finesse as a trader. Are you able to capitalize on the retracements to the degree that it's worth taking the risk you'll miss out on that move to the top side? And I can tell you with so much confidence that my plan and my conviction to stick to my plan relies on my extremely strong confidence that price on LPSN will get to 236. And not only that, I think it's going to go much further. So how do you manage that position? Pardon me for 2 seconds. So how are you going to manage your position? Is it based on the previous oscillations where price might come back to test this important area within this harmonic, the target 1 from the result of it reaching the opportunity point to enter? Is it that where you would define the worst case scenario? And if so, are you trying to get back in at around these levels? It would be very difficult because price probably doesn't rest there for long. You'd need to be available, present, and cognizant of these moves. You'd also need to be taking that move based on having taken profit with a big enough margin at the top side that you'd be able to exploit that price difference. Are all of these things true to the degree that you'd be able to capitalize? Or is it more likely, based on the fact that you have a better average entry, that that isn't a decision you need to make with regards to cutting and adding, but instead somewhere where you might then look to increase your position size? And a lot of people will be thinking that sort of thing, especially if they're laddering into price. Now, if you need me to explain that concept, then it's probably better you don't do that. If you'd like to learn more about it, I'm available on Discord to chat about these potential opportunities. Now, that's the retracement in a positive trend that would put in a higher low on a macro time frame, not just the 4-hour, but you can go up to the daily time frame and see why that's so very significant with the previous peak in price action. That was the last high. Any low that's a higher low and is still higher than the previous high speaks to an incredibly strong trend. And that sort of opportunity then presenting a really high likelihood that you find a lot of liquidity looking to go long at that area if you get a retracement back down again. Now, if you don't get one, you can already see looking left that you're at this extremely high, important point on price with regards to support and resistance. Back here, before price managed to collapse into the W and reversal formation that gave us the Gartley and the high probability setup to get here, you can see that price touched that area at the very start of May on its extremely strong downtrend from the all-time highs, and that is why we've defined everything in price action below 130 as very different and distinct in its nature and in the trend from anything price does should it recover above there. And so breaking back above 130, I don't think 169 would likely be resistance. While it might be temporarily because of the fact that there's a gap on price action, I think you'd be in search of that target back up at around 230. Breaking that would be breaking a downward sloping diagonal that's relevant even on this weekly time frame here. And you can see that that goes back so very long. If this particular linear direction is true, then you'd be looking at it here from in around 30th of January in the start of this year. So price action coming up to test the yearly highs if it breaks back above 169 and closes back at the top side of that gap, even if that means it's a retrace within that oscillation back down to test the bottom side of that gap or the diagonal from the weekly time frame we see here in around 160, 170, maybe higher. That sort of area, maybe lower, right? If that's a higher low on a macro time frame, breaking a downward sloping diagonal on a weekly time frame, you'd be looking for moves to 411, back to 580, closing previous gaps, and this thing targeting its all-time high of this year, which means coming in at around 17, 18 bucks. That's a huge, huge percentage move. And are you willing to take the risk that you'd miss out on that move because you were so eager to make the pennies that are available on a retracement back down at these areas? Now, it might be possible. If you're as good as me, then you might be able to exploit that move. If you're not, if you've got a little bit of insecurity about your own abilities, if it is that you wouldn't have the conviction I do at the moments that I think price is opportunistic and you can enter and make a bit, then you're going to have to think about whether or not it's better for you to just hold and dollar cost average, which means that these are all places you might want to enter or add to your position. If you're new, enter. If you're here and you've been trading this for a while, maybe add to your position. If you're leveraging up, if you're using options, if you're looking to enter or roll into things, then these are the areas the experienced traders will engage with price at. So that's based on a bullish accumulation with regards to their own position, as opposed to exploiting the oscillations in price to try and catch swing highs and swing lows. And I'm telling you now that a lot of people imagine they're as good as me, and that's very aspirational, and I commend you for it. But do you really, in your heart of hearts, believe that you can make that work? Or do you think that because you've been delivered this God-given gift at this moment, you would actually be able to just work with price and slowly manage your risk instead of using a risk management based on cutting, but instead with a position sizing and therefore adding as price gets to areas of support and being cognizant of the dangers with managing your own expectations at resistance? So that's the low time frames up to the high based on the 4 hour, with lots of important information about why it is that price might go to the top side or come back down, and why that narrative makes sense with regards to managing your risk, how other sensible, well-skilled traders will be interacting with this thing, and how it is that you might then follow those whales and benefit from their liquidity as opposed to being exposed to the downside of it. And here you can see those important levels at 96. It was resistance previously. We're on the 1 hour time frame. It was support. There is a fair value gap and an actually visible gap back down around 98, 99 cents. If price action touches below $1 based on the narrative we've seen with Lipson, do you honestly think that that isn't a buy based on the previous volatility and that size of retracement? Do you think it would go much further based on the way that this thing has been moving and the nature of the fundamentals, that if it does manage to maintain back above $1 for 10 days in a row, that would then escape the delisting notice? It would no longer be delinquent with regards to price on the NASDAQ. The fact that it would be confirmed as a stronger, lower risk, higher opportunity to the potential institutional funds that might be looking at this thing, and whether or not that would be confirmation holding in around just below $1 and then moving back up again, that you would be targeting that 4.11, that higher level, that ability to get back on the national market system so that even bigger funds were interested, and that drive price up to test that weekly downward sloping diagonal that we can see coming in at around 173, break that prior important highs, 243, come back up 465. Looking at these sort of levels and a retracement afterwards, is that going to be what takes it all the way back up to test 10 bucks? This important fair value gap that you also got on the charts here. And if it does break that weekly trend, and it does start putting in bullish oscillations, it does escape that delinquency notice, do you think that it would be natural, that it would be assumed by sensible, experienced traders that this thing might be going back to its yearly high? And where is its yearly high? Looking at it on this previous move, it's come down and put in all-time lows apart from this previous, like, you know, I always do that, like trying to sneak in those dramatic terms. It hasn't actually come back down to test this awful area that it was at back in 2001, but there was a massive issue with regards to tech companies at that point, and that was very unlikely that was going to happen. This is the natural low for this stock when it's faced that delinquency notice, when it may be getting delisted, when risk couldn't be higher, when the multiples are so low compared to its competitors, when AI is such a massively important, popular sector right now. Do you think that this actually is the place to look for previous lows? And if it then defeats the time that it got to that downward sloping resistance, defeats that previous narrative, and it looks like it might be bullish again, is it that you'd be looking back up to 1349? Would you be thinking about the all-time high possibly coming into sights again? You would have to be careful when it reaches yearly and monthly highs. You have to be aware of those levels are. Some have been identified in this show. We'll talk about them more on Discord. You're all welcome to join. It's totally free. There's a thread exclusively about this stock. It's absolutely jam-packed of really good people. With some of them have got staggeringly huge positions, others much smaller, but they're still very, very engaged with price. There's memes all the time in there. There's loads of hilarious commentary, and there's loads of good positive vibes. So if you're interested in being in a safe space where bears can get to fuck and you can chat and enjoy this conversation and this journey, then that thread on Discord is for you. You won't be exposed to people trying to manipulate you. There's good guidance and oversight, and there's a really, really strong community. So if you're new to LPSN or you're looking to get in, then that's a great place for you to start learning about why it is that we're also bullish on price. And this is the all-time high to all-time, right, to the now most recent low on price on LivePerson. And you can see that the 236 is in at around that 140 level. So it is that price could easily keep going to the top side. And if it was slightly more accurate previously before I drew it, maybe you're looking at 157, 327 is a 382, and price could easily get back to a 382 within any oscillation and then continue the previous trend. So it's not crazy to imagine price moving to 327, and that potentially, in terms of an artifact and how it would be a magnetor on price, you might be thinking, well, 327 breaking that downward sloping trend line doesn't completely defeat the bearish case. Therefore, to say that it doesn't defeat the bearish case, is that also true to say then it's not too unrealistic in a bullish scenario to think that that might be possible. Because what becomes unrealistic, right? Well, at this stage, trying to target all-time highs isn't necessarily for everybody, because they need the confidence to see that it's achieved greater than the monthly high, greater than the yearly high. And then you could maybe be comparing it to the previous past history where it would reach those extreme levels. So that's what we're looking at on LivePerson with regards to the technical analysis on the highs and on the lows. Thank you very much for the donation, Brad C, $9.99. It was appreciated. What did you say at the time? Thanks for what you do, Jamie. You're all very, very welcome. This is all really flowing through Rocky Outcrop. So if you've got a thanks for me, it's really a thanks for him. And I'll hopefully see you on his show on Wednesday. Fortnite Chili's 1 month member celebrating. Got some more today at Open. What a lovely day. Thanks, Jamie. You're welcome, Fortnite Chili's. Again, passing it on to Rocky. Clarity and purpose. Thank you very much, Alex. Totally important skills, and your approach to the charts will often be defined in your success on price. And so if you can keep a cool, calm head when everybody else is losing theirs, you'll definitely make the most of it. And that's the best mentality and attitude to hold to exploit your skills, and you apply them properly without getting distracted with your emotions. Vibes on vibes, Fortnite Chili's with $9.99 as well. Thank you very much. Appreciated, my friend. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Those people who are able or feel like it's a good decision to do so, I appreciate it. This is the second show today. The first was an intro to this one. This was a good update that'll cover everything you could possibly want to know about LivePerson based on how you would exploit the opportunity. So it might mean that you need to watch it a couple of times. There might be areas where you need to pause it and be careful to hear exactly what it is that I'm saying. You'll notice that I only used one Fibonacci, that most of the work I did was based on the structure of price alone, and that was used to define where the risk changes. And those are the areas that you'll learn to exploit if you take my course at www.technicalanalysis.school and learn to be a trader like me. It's also where I'll be able to get the best trust in your approach, so I'll understand that you're really actually comprehending price, you know how to approach a chart, and that I can add to your technical analysis and make you a better trader without wasting my time trying to spend hours, weeks, or months figuring out what it is that you've been taught somewhere else and got wrong. So don't think that self-directed learning is all positive. It'll leave you with loads of holes. It'll leave you with not knowing what it is that you're doing wrong, and it'll take me ages to find it out. So don't think just about that. Also consider the fact that if you were to know now the things that you will know in future from interacting with the educational material I put out there, then think how rich you'd be and how much sooner that had happened for you and how much better your life will be. Because nobody likes living with regrets. And if all of those could be summed up by saying, I should have taken TradeSpotting's course earlier, then the question is for you, what is holding you back? What is stalling? What is waiting? What's the problem? You definitely could be on your route to taking that course based on the guidance you've seen on this ticker alone. And don't think that's the only one, nor is it going to be the only one. So you don't need to be too greedy. You always need to be cognizant of your own plan. And then you need to be careful that you're not forgetting that you yourself are very susceptible to fear and greed. And if it's greed that's controlling your actions, then think about replacing that with faith and trust in TradeSpotting, right? So in this election year, in this horrible political cycle, remember, vote TradeSpotting, vote early, vote often, and make sure you hit the like button. Thanks very much for everybody who supported the show today. See you tomorrow for more of the same. Peace.